The first thing I do is import my drawing into ibisPaint X. After importing, I make the drawing darker by going to the Filter tab, then to Brightness and Contrast, and lowering the brightness to anywhere between -70% and -100%. Once I've darkened my drawing, the next thing I do is draw the light source. I start by drawing the base shape of the light source. I usually do this on an overlay layer. For this tutorial, I'll use Luffy's haki as the light source. I'll use red as the base color. The reason I prefer using an overlay layer is that it helps blend the light source more naturally with the rest of the drawing. When you use an overlay layer, the colors on the layer interact with the base colors of your drawing in a way that preserves their brightness and contrast. This blending effect allows the light source to glow more realistically without overwhelming the other elements in the drawing. It adds a soft, luminous touch to the light source and makes it feel like it's part of the overall scene. After the base color has been applied, I add a lighter color, or white, inside the base shape to enhance the brightness. To make the light source look brighter, I add lighter colors. For example, I'll use light yellow inside the haki and white in some areas. The reason I use lighter colors is that they create a sense of intensity and highlight the core of the light source. Lighter shades, especially white, have a natural glowing effect that mimics the way light behaves in real life. By layering lighter colors on top of the base color, I can create a gradient that makes the light source appear to shine. In this drawing, using light yellow creates a warm, strong glow that stands out against the red base color. Adding white to the edges or certain areas makes the glow even brighter. Since white is the brightest color, it looks like the light is shining outwards. This method adds depth to the light source and makes it feel more dynamic and alive. Finally, I create another add layer and use the airbrush normal tool to make the light source glow. I use the same color as the base color for the glow. For larger areas, I increase the brush size and lower the opacity for a subtle effect and apply it like this. I also make one part of the light source brighter, while leaving the other part with a subtle glow effect to create a sense of depth and focus. For smaller areas, I decrease the brush size and increase the opacity to make the glow appear brighter. This technique prevents messy colors and enhances the overall glow effect, resulting in a smoother, more polished light transition. After I finish drawing the light source, the next step I do is draw lighting. Lighting is the effect of the light source reflecting onto the character. For this drawing, Luffy's haki is the light source, so certain areas of his body will be affected by the glow, specifically in these areas. Now, I'm going to show you my new method for adding lighting. I start by creating an add layer with 31% opacity. This ensures the light source remains more noticeable than the lighting. Using 100% layer opacity for lighting can make the drawing look messy and overwhelming. Then, I select the areas affected by the light source using the lasso tool. Make sure to click Addition Mode to add to your selection. The lasso tool is great for selecting specific areas in an image because it lets you draw around the part you want to adjust. This helps you focus on just the areas affected by the light without changing anything else. If you make a mistake, switch to subtraction mode to remove unwanted parts and select Addition Mode again if you want to select more areas. This new method requires patience because it's time-consuming and difficult to draw shapes using the lasso tool, but just trust the process. It will be worth it. Once you get the hang of it, you'll see how much control you gain over the final result. When you add to your selection using the lasso tool, you can control how the light looks on the object, making sure it fits with the shape and angle of the subject for a more natural or stylized effect. Once I select the areas, I use the airbrush tool to color them. I first increase the brush size and lower the opacity for a subtle effect for large areas, then apply it by tapping on the light source. For smaller areas, I decrease the brush size and increase the opacity for more vivid colors. I start coloring the areas closer to the light source and leave the areas farther from the light source with more subtle colors. I use the same method when I add glow to the light source, ensuring a natural gradient. This technique helps maintain a smooth, realistic transition between light and shadow. After coloring, I deselect the selection area by selecting this. Notice how areas closer to the light source are brighter, while areas farther away are less affected. Finally, I apply Gaussian blur to soften the edges and create a smooth transition. Sometimes, when I'm unsure about the colors, I increase the layer opacity, but I make sure the color and brightness of the light source still stand out. The lighting is done. Now it's time to add some details. Sometimes my glow art might feel like it's missing something. That's when I add minimal details to enhance the design. In this drawing, I'm adding flares to the light source because I think it will add more impact to the hockey. Flares can emphasize the brightness and intensity of the glow, making it more dynamic and eye-catching. For example, I might draw spark-like effects radiating from the light source to give it more energy. Another detail I like to include is falling elements such as yellow petals. These additions create movement and atmosphere in the artwork, adding an extra layer of interest. However, I keep them minimal to avoid diverting attention from the main focal point, which is the light source. There are many other details you can add to your drawing to make it look more impressive. You can observe other artists' work to get some ideas. These subtle additions help frame the glow, making the artwork feel more complete and visually engaging without overwhelming the viewer. The last step I do is use an overlay layer to enhance my glow art. I create an overlay layer above the drawing layer and lower its opacity to around 11%. I fill the layer with the main color of my glow. In this drawing, I'll use red. I use the bucket tool to easily color the entire canvas. I select the bucket tool settings, scroll, and then tap the current layer to ensure that the color is applied only to the current layer, without affecting other layers. Be cautious when adjusting layer opacity, because overdoing it can potentially ruin or overshadow the glow effect, which serves as the focal point of the drawing. Keep it within 10% to 15%. And that's how I add glow to my drawings. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Let me know which part you struggled with the most. Don't be shy to ask questions in the comment section. I'll try my best to answer them.